Hi, this is Natasha Lewis with Esther's Place, and we are coming to you virtually, our favorite art educators. Join me today as we are talking about cylinders and all the cool things you can do with needle felting with cylinders. I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas and we're going to jump in. So our basic shape that we're talking about today is how to transform a very easy, very basic cylinder into a wide variety of creative, choice-based projects for your middle school and high schoolers. Now, these are just some basic concepts, but I'm going to show you different ways that you can adapt them to your classroom, give you suggestions on how to do this project virtually and remotely, as well as give you inspiration for some great ideas that you can implement with your classroom. So are you ready to get started? Come and join me. Now, if you have your own felting supplies at home, you could definitely follow along. Otherwise, after the presentation, check out our website. We'll be posting links for all the information that we're going over in class to give you resources and ideas and supplies and things like that that you need to do some of this fun stuff at home. So we're talking cylinders today because I think it's a great shape to start the kids out on. It eliminates a lot of need sculpturally for complicated arms and legs, and it really adapts into a wide range of different projects. So here's what I suggest. This is a great project to start and implement in your art club, usually older elementary aged and up. That sweet spot's going to be 4th grade through, about 7th grade. And you can certainly do this with older kids, but I'll give you a few ideas to kind of enrich it a little bit and add some different components. So my first suggestion is to go through and kind of think about what is the concept or idea you want to be presenting with the kids, and what is the cylinder project you want to choose. Of course, a really fun way to go is to focus on a favorite Comic-Con character. I did an entire series of Star Wars critters, and I did Leia, Chewie. I used a zipper. I cut apart a zipper for the ammo belt for Chewie. It's pretty rad, I have to admit. So have them pick a subject that is near and dear to them, or if you're studying a particular project or theme, you can go with that. Something that can definitely get both boys and girls excited is doing some of their favorite creatures from their favorite sci-fi movies or series or things like that. And these are great because they oftentimes have, lots of bold colors, they're fun, they're relative, and it's something that kids can really connect with. So that's one subject area. Another thing that you could do is have them enrich the project and work on doing a spirit animal. This is a great way for kids to express themselves, and especially in these times where kids are feeling a little alone, this could be a really great way for them to express themselves. So encourage them to kind of think about the animal that they might be. This could be their personality, it could be how they relate to society. Perhaps they're a real go-getter, like a parrot who's always out there talking and always interacting and squawking, but maybe they're really quiet and indrawn like a little hedgehog. So encourage them to kind of work through the emotions of what their spirit animal is, and then they can produce that. Another idea that you can do is, fun, mystical anime sort of things that you can draw in all those fun pastel colors, kind of bubblegum, pop culture, all of that kind of thing. You could also do, and I'm just brainstorming right now, you could do favorite artists. So you can turn these into people really easily and have them pick a favorite artist. And this would be an excellent, thing, a little more detail, a little face structure. in the figurine, and that would be a great way to take this into a high school level project. So, different ways to pick your theme, and I could go on all day brainstorming about great ways to pick your theme. Superheroes would be super fun, especially even today, talking about everyday superheroes like nurses or firefighters, and then how to kind of immortalize them as a superhero character. Just so many different fun themes. So anyways, I won't get stuck on that. We'll brainstorm more about that, be thinking about that as we're working. But you can encourage them to make a sketch. So I'm a really terrible drawer. That's why I stick to fiber art. But this is kind of my concept for a crazy little lion. So I've got my basic cylinder shape, and this is even something you can provide the students, a template like this, and even a list, a checklist. Do they want to add ears? Do they want to add arms? Do they want to add a tail? So they don't forget about these parts. It's really easy for young kids to kind of go, da, 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 I'm done. But to have them work through the process and really think about the anatomy and also the creativity. This could be an animal of their own making, and maybe it's combining the best of, 2 or 3 animals, and there's a story behind it. So perhaps they're the crazy inventor. You could go with a holiday, like Halloween, and do Halloween themed things. So anyways, so we've got my ears, we've got my arms, we've got my tail. Again, this is why I don't draw, but thank you for bearing with me here. These are the curly fibers, which are really fun. So just, a little sketch, something that they can, have as some inspiration, or to see how far they've come. Perhaps they, when they get done, they'll reflect back on the sketch and see, wow, my idea really did take a turn, and this is how it changed and progressed as I worked. And so making a sketch is a great, place to start out with. Okay, so then when it comes to supplies and fiber and things like that, we're your people. We can help you out. We can put together something just for your classroom. Right now, we're kind of working one-on-one with teachers and putting together kits so that you can hand out if you're doing things remotely. We put everything in a plastic Ziploc bag. And that's your foam, your needles, Band-Aid, fibers. We can give them choices of colors by putting a variety in there, or you can give them a couple different choices and we can put those together. So that's the cool thing is, this is a project that they could very easily do at home, and the supplies and everything can be put very easily together by you or by us. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to get started. I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of making a cylinder person and just kind of talk about our supplies and technique and process of this whole thing. So we're going to turn the camera down and hello, goodbye. We're going to focus in on hands over here. So we've got our foam block, which of course is essential. Now, if you are sourcing materials for your classroom, say you haven't set up a fiber component yet, you're wanting to get started, these foams are not terribly expensive. They're, a couple dollars each, but if you're looking to get by on a budget, my cheap foam trick is to go and take a couch cushion and unzip that couch cushion, and then take an electric knife and you can cut that couch cushion into your own foam blocks. Doing 3-dimensional shapes like this, we're going to be working on the foam, but we're not going to be utilizing this foam as much as something that's flat. So we can get by with, lower grade foam. This is a very, very high density foam, but for this project, we can get by with a lot of different things. So you can definitely makeshift that. So that's foam. Now when it comes to needles, I like to have a couple needles on hand. And this is the reason why. These felting needles, of course are special. They have little notches at the bottom here that tangle the fibers together, and they're going to agitate and tangle the fibers as we poke. Now I usually like to have 2 or 3 needles because I use some to hold things in place as my helper needles. Now, good things to remind kids when they're working is to make sure that your space you have, you have your needles in your foam at all times. It's very easy to accidentally, misplace those needles, and not something we want to do. So make sure that you've got those needles at all times in your foam block. Now we do carry bulk needles. There are different gauges of needles. I usually use the 36 gauge for about everything that I do. The finer the gauge, the higher the number. And those finer gauge needles are going to give you a smoother surface. But for the wool that we're using and for the technique, I really almost always use that 36 gauge needle, and it works really well. So those are just your tools. If you don't, want to have the 3 needles, you can have something that's sharpish that they can put through the wool. That could be, a long skewer or something like that that has a sharper point that you can pierce the wool so that you can hold it down, and we'll show you that in a minute. So we're going to just get started on the basic shape of a cylinder creation. And to continue making them, we have a great page full of cylinder inspired creations. I call them pocket pals, or little critters, because they're easy cylindrical shaped objects, and we'll be putting a link in there for that as well, for those tutorials, so you can complete your cylinder at home using our really fun, easy to follow tutorials. So this fiber that we're starting out with, I've got about, say, 10 inches or so worth of the wool roving, and you want to use a medium grade wool. This is our Cheviot, what we use for needle felting, because it's going to hold its shape really well, and it's going to be nice and sturdy. So we're going to take this and we're going to wrap it around your finger. Now this is wool, of course, from local sheep, our sheep and other sheep in the area, and we send it to a mill in Michigan. They wash the wool, they card the wool, it comes back all nice and fluffy. So another great component you can be talking to and about with this unit is using an eco-friendly, renewable resource as our art material, which is a really great component as well. So we're going to take and wrap that around your finger. You keep it flat and smooth the whole time, and then as we finish that up, it's still fluffy. You're just going to take and finish rolling that around. So now we've got a finger that's bandaged in wool, and we're going to take that and we're going to wrap it super tight. Just crank it on your finger. It's going to feel tight, but that's good. And then we're going to slide it carefully out. Now make sure when you slide it out that you don't pull those guts out. You don't want to lose, the nice cylindrical shape. So looking at it now, it's about the size of our finger, but it also needs to get tucked in on the ends. So we're going to take and just tuck this end in. For demonstration purposes today, I'm actually going to tuck one end in. I'm not going to tuck this other one. I'll show you how to make a cone shape with that other end. So we'll show you that in a minute here. So for now, I've got my base, and this base for our 2D2, of course, it doesn't get covered or anything. It's just as is. But we can also cover it, like for this fox. Here's our base, and then we covered it in the color. And so I'm almost always starting out with a white base. It really is just the easiest way to go. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pin that down. We're going to put one needle down into the foam. You can hear it crunch. And then we're going to put another needle at the other end. This is why I really appreciate, and you can see how far they're in, I appreciate having multiple needles to work with, because as you can see, that's not going anywhere. And it's a lot safer working with the kids when you have that anchored in there, and they're not going to have to hold anything down with their fingers. So let's go ahead and take that third needle, or if you're holding it down just with one, you can use 2 needles, and we're going to start by poking in the bottom. This is the base, and it's easy to stand thick foam like this up so that we can get to it. Now notice, pause here for a minute, notice that my hand is over here away from my work. I am not close at all. I want to keep my fingers away from my work. Anytime that I'm working, my eyes should be focused in on my work, and my hand needs to be away from the wool. I'm not holding that wool with my hand, just not necessary. So I've poked the bottom here until it's nice and flat. We can see that's flat over here, and I'm going to be moving up the shape. So this time I'm just poking on the top and the sides, and we're just kind of poking to get that fiber to tangle and interact and hold together. I'm just going to move this in a little bit closer for us. Okay. So as we're poking, we're going into the center of our form, of our wool here. And you're just doing little pokes, and we're not actually touching the foam yet. We're just doing little pokes into the middle of the cylinder. When I've gone around and I feel like, that surface is getting smoother, there's not as many lumps and bumps, it's getting more solid. If I give it a squeeze, it should feel pretty solid. Then I can go ahead and rotate. Remember, this is like a rotisserie. You have to keep it turning, or you get an bumpy spot or a misshapen spot. So we're going to take and put those needles in the corner there, take out your helper needles, and go ahead and turn this. And you're just going to turn it, give it like a quarter turn, like a rotisserie, stick your helper needles back in there, and go ahead and keep poking. And I would say, spending about 10 minutes on this is probably more than sufficient, but you want to get a nice solid cylinder before moving on and adding other colors to the outside here. So we're going to do the bottom a little bit, and I'm going to show you just a variation on if you were to make this into a cone, how we would do that. Like I said, I'm just going to give you a couple techniques, and you can follow up with any of our video tutorials. They're all free, they're all on our website, and I'll link those for you. Now, they're also a great teaching resource, and you are more than welcome to utilize those in your classroom. In fact, you can even use them as a great teaching tool and pause and start at any point in the process and use it to create a project alongside it. Alright, so as you can see, the bottom is flat. This part has been poked. It's not quite as fluffy. And we're going to take and we're going to stretch the top. So if I were creating a shape like this guy here, I would continue poking in at the top here. But if I want to create more of a gnome or a cone shape, I'm just going to show you what I would do is hold this solid bottom, hold the fluffy bit at the top. Don't grab just these little tiny fibers, grab a whole chunk, and you're going to pull. And now this is solid down here, but this is soft and fluffy. So as you start poking this, it's going to turn into more of a cone. Then we can also layer and add more fibers around here to get our shape. So we're doing two things. We're poking to shape it, to shrink it, and we're also adding more fiber on to increase it. So shrinking, you want to poke. Increase the size, you want to add fiber. Alright, so we'll do this for just a second. You can kind of start to see. Now, if you want to speed things up just a little bit, sometimes if I'm feeling confident, I'll take two needles together in my hand. I'll tap them on the table so they're both about the same size, and then I have double the poking action. You could also have the kids make their very own polymer felting tools and use polymer clay to form like a little handle and create their own felting tools with 3 needles or something like that. So that's just another fun little component in teaching how to use our tools and just actually creating a tool for your art. So as you can see, that's starting to shrink up a little bit up here. So now that I have a basic shape, and of course I'm kind of speeding this along a little bit, we're going to go ahead and move into creating like a little bump on the face. Now, a lot of my creatures are done with this little muzzle on their face. And so we're going to be creating this muzzle. So any of the animals are going to have that, just to create a nice shape on their face and give them a good profile. Some of them don't have that. R2-D2 doesn't. This little owl doesn't. It's flat on the face. But a lot of them do. So to do that, we're going to take another piece of wool. I know it's kind of white on white here. And we're going to split this. We're going to split it in half. And we're going to create a ball for that muzzle. So we're going to roll and tuck, roll and tuck, roll and tuck, roll and tuck. And then we're going to take and we're going to place that on here. putting one needle through. There we go. Now it kind of looks like a orangutan. And we're going to poke around the outside edge and adding our shape. And this is how we could add any of our shapes. We're going to add basically starting with like a skeleton, adding, this would be like muscle, and then the last layer that's going to go on is the skin. So this is going to be the layer that smooths it out and creates the essence of, one continuous smooth piece, not, multiple pieces added on there. So once we've got that poked in, we're going to take that helper needle out and we're going to put this fiber over, and you're going to lose the shape at first. Put those helper needles in there, of course. So I can't even see that shape, but as I start poking, it's going to start to emerge a little bit more, and you'll have this really nice smooth finish from here on out. So just a few pokes here to give you the idea, and you'll start to see how we're forming these shapes. So we can sculpt and shape just in the same way that we would do with all kinds of other 3D materials, but we're doing it with the wool. And in the era of technology that we're all immersed in, this is so hands-on, so good, so much emotion that the kids really crave and need, and that it would be a great project to incorporate in with your virtual learning, because I think it's something that gets them moving, it gets them engaged, they see instant results. It's something that's exciting. With having the tools, at their fingertips, they can continue to create things at home, and it kind of brings the arts into the home. Now, these are not really expensive projects to do. The wool that I'm using right here, this little guy right here, costs about 50 cents worth of wool. Now, the needles and the foam can be a bit more of an investment, but here's an idea. I just had a school where the parents actually paid for the art club to do a project. So maybe this is something that, somebody in your district or PTA would like to sponsor. You can approach them with that, request. And in these times, you just never know. You never know ways that families want to help invest in their kids and their community. And it's worth asking the question. So this basic concept here can then be embellished with other colors, other techniques, adding your different shapes in there as you go, and really about any critter or creature or creation can be made this way. So these are just a couple basic concepts for you, and I hope that we've been able to walk through some different ideas, because I really think this is just something that you should go home and play with and really just own it, feel confident with it, because I think that the kids will have a lot of fun. So we're going to be posting those links for, this is one of the tutorials here, as well as the fox. So we're going to be posting those links so you can check it out and see how to create and finish creating something out of the structure that we've built right here. We also have critter kits for classrooms, so we can set everything up. And like I said, these are kind of crazy times, so we're happy to work with you and brainstorm and come up with whatever help that we can do to help enrich your program with fiber arts. So it's really been fun creating with you. I'm going to turn this back here up. Hi again. It's been fun starting to create with you, and I hope that in some way this project has sparked a little bit of interest and a little possibility for your older elementary, middle school, and high schoolers. We brainstormed a little bit in the beginning, but I'd love for you to reach out and share your ideas that you've had since watching and engaging with this. And also, if you've done something like this in your classroom, how has it worked? What are some of your ideas, suggestions, things like that you would like to share with other educators? We'd love to be able to get that word out. But there are so many resources on our website that we can help connect you with. But I really encourage you, if you're looking for a way to get into the fiber arts with your classroom, this is a really wonderful project. And I hope that this has given you some ideas and confidence to go forth and explore it on your own. So thanks for joining me for the wonderful world of cylinders and critters and all the fun creations that we enjoy here at Esther's Place. Check out our website for all the resources. We'll be including those links, and we look forward to seeing how this project in class has inspired you. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, happy felting!